guys, it's your boy John, a Liquidator, coming back with another video. And it looked like Unrivaled is in a heap of trouble after fans is digging through the rubble of Aliyah Boston injury. Guys, for this one here, we got to go down to Florida and we got to jump right into this story, man. So if you guys have not heard the news or seen the video I did before this, when Aliyah Boston has suffered a season-ending injury at
That's the face of someone who just got blindsided by their own league. Aliyah Boston's the 2026 Unrivaled Defensive Player of the Year, averaging 18 points per game, is now out for the season, with an injury that nobody will actually name. Not the league, not the team doctors. Not even the journalists covering this story can get a straight answer, and fans are absolutely tearing Unrivaled apart for it.
Now, this is the latest tweet from Chloe Peterson. She stated, considering the Unrivaled season ends in 3 days, out for the season doesn't give us much clarity on the seriousness of the injury, bro. Boston is slated to join USA Basketball for training camp in Miami on March the 6th. That's in 5 days. So we know she's definitely not doing that. So we would know more by then, if not earlier.
Here's where this gets genuinely concerning. Chloe Peterson, one of the most connected WNBA journalists in the game, put out a tweet that should alarm everyone. She wrote, "Considering the Unrivaled season ends in 3 days, out for the season doesn't give us much clarity on the seriousness of the injury." Think about what that means. A professional sports journalist with direct access to these teams can't get basic medical information about one of the league's biggest stars. Boston is supposed to report to USA Basketball training camp in Miami on March 6th. That's 5 days away from when this injury happened. And we still don't know if it's a sprained ankle, a torn ligament, a knee issue, or something completely different. The complete radio silence from Unrivaled is creating a vacuum that's being filled with speculation, anger, and conspiracy theories.
What the hell is going on with Unrivaled? They ain't keeping it a buck, bro. Y'all got to have some type of transparency. This is the second incident y'all done had involving Aliyah Boston and not keeping it real. First, you had your people going at her last week, pretty much saying she assaulting players with elbows. Now she get hurt this week. You ain't giving us no information on the injury. Make it seem like y'all ain't even got real doctors at Unrivaled. Somebody stated, we understand that Unrivaled docs are ducking that smoke. Rest up, AB. Yeah, bro, because it definitely...
And this isn't Unrivaled's first transparency problem with Aliyah Boston specifically. Just last week, there was a separate incident where players were getting hit with elbows during games, and the league's response was essentially crickets. No statements, no disciplinary action, no acknowledgement that anything even happened. Now Boston gets injured. And once again, Unrivaled goes completely silent. Fans started connecting these dots immediately. One comment that went viral said, "We understand that Unrivaled doctor ducking that smoke, rest up AB." That's not just frustration, that's a complete loss of faith in the league's medical protocols. When your fan base starts questioning whether you even have real doctors on staff, you've got a serious credibility crisis.
This is Don Staley. Don Staley actually made the news too the other day. I believe yesterday. I want to play this clip here in a hot second. We're going to come back to that. But I want to check out some of these comments here, man. It goes on to say, so you have Boston and Citron both injured before USA Basketball. Can't you just ask how she was injured, what the injury is, how long she expected to be out? They ain't telling nobody, bro. If AB is out, at least CC could get Cam Brink. Facts, but Cam...
Now let's talk about what this means for USA Basketball and the 2026 WNBA season. Boston's teammate is also dealing with an injury right now. So you've got two players from the same Unrivaled team potentially missing international competition because of injuries sustained in what's supposed to be a developmental off-season league. That's not a good look when you're trying to position yourself as the future of women's basketball. The timing couldn't be worse. USA Basketball has already finalized their training camp roster. They've made travel arrangements. They've scheduled practice facilities in Miami. And now they're sitting there wondering if one of their key post players is going to show up. And if she does show up, what condition she'll actually be in.
This is Don Staley. This is a clip that I want to play here for you guys Because this clip right here, I believe this is the one that got her into the meet.
She can beat you a variety of ways. She can beat you with her, obviously, her three-point shot. But for me, the most dangerous thing of Caitlin Clark is her passing ability, her ability to make other people better. That's how you win. Is involving her teammates in a way that it doesn't quite add up. We can't produce enough points like they can. I think
she's a magical passer, and she has a great feel for the game. So, I mean, what her coach did, I would have done exactly what she did. Make sure she handles the ball a lot, and she'll make everybody better. And
she just makes everybody around her better. That's what the great ones do. Caitlin Clark's not going to beat you by herself.
But here's what makes this situation particularly explosive. Dawn Staley, one of the most respected voices in women's basketball, just went on record with extended commentary about player development and team dynamics. And while she wasn't directly addressing the Boston injury, the timing is significant. Staley has always been protective of her former players, and Boston played under her at South Carolina before going pro. Watch what happens in that clip. Staley talks about how elite players make everyone around them better. She specifically mentions the importance of proper support systems and medical care for star athletes. She talks about the responsibility that leagues and teams have to protect their investments in these players. The subtext is impossible to miss. This is someone who understands what's at stake when you don't take care of your talent. And remember, Staley has never been shy about calling out organizations when she thinks they're mishandling situations. She's got the credibility to say things that other people can't. So when she starts talking about player protection right as this Boston controversy is exploding, people are paying attention.
What did I say to her? I said, I sure am glad you leaving.
I remember that.
I said, girl, you something else. Never seen anything like it.
The biggest thing is how she balances that and her playmaking ability to get everybody else involved.
I saw it. She makes the right play. Every time, not all the time, she makes her teammates better. She shoot the ball. She's a great player, but I'm
team now. But they played together so smooth, but she was always leading that shit. She always had the ball in her hands. Everybody was playing off of her. She just commanded the whole game. I was like, who the hell is this? She is nice. It was like, oh, she's the best player in the country. I was like, oh, damn. I see it now. Like, you know,
like, playmaking and long ball. And she does both of those on a high level. She makes a lot of those girls around her better. And her influence on the game is impeccable. So, you know, we got to give it up, man.
I think she finished there for her to.
Let's break down exactly what we know and what we don't know, because the gaps in information are revealing. Here's what's confirmed. Aliyah Boston suffered some kind of injury during unrivaled play. She's been ruled out for the remainder of the unrivaled season, which ends in 3 days. She was seen with her right knee taped up during the second quarter of a recent game, and she won Defensive Player of the Year for the league before this happened. Here's what we don't know. The specific nature of the injury, whether it requires surgery, the expected recovery timeline, whether she'll miss USA basketball camp, whether she'll be ready for WNBA training camp, whether this is a new injury or an aggravation of a previous issue. That's a lot of unknowns for a player of Boston's caliber. And here's the thing that's driving journalists crazy. These aren't complicated questions. Every major sports league has standard injury reporting protocols. The NBA tells you if a guy has a sprained ankle or a torn ACL. The WNBA does the same thing. Even college programs release injury updates. But Unrivaled is treating this like classified information.
Shells all over the place for damn near all the scoring and facilitating everybody else because there's no one else that can really take you off the dribble. So if she doesn't create something, nobody does anything.
Right. You know, pushing the ball, getting paint touches, you know, a lot of assists for us. Like, everybody's going to focus on the scoring aspect, but she's getting her teammates open. She's getting us open shots and letting us get to the rim. So everybody's so focused on her, it's giving us open opportunities, and she's passing the hell out the ball.
It's crazy. 40 and 12, like, scoring and then getting everybody involved. What she's doing is...
The fan reaction has been swift and brutal. Social media is flooded with people questioning Unrivaled's legitimacy as a professional operation. One comment that captured the mood perfectly. So you have Boston and her sister both injured before USA basketball. Can't you just ask how she was injured? What the injury is? How long she's expected to be out? Another fan wrote, as a journalist, can't you reach out to her team for comment? And the response from people covering this beat has been consistent. They tried. The teams aren't commenting. The league isn't commenting. It's a complete communications blackout. That's not how professional sports organizations operate in 2026. Transparency isn't optional anymore. Fans expect it. Sponsors demand it. And when you don't provide it, people assume the worst.
Is gracious, she's a competitor, she wants to get better and she wants to make her team better. We gawk at the logo threes, but over 750 rebounds, over 750 assists, like she is a playmaker for this team.
Caitlin is one of those people that has a high IQ. So I know she's watching and I know she's going to come back and make you all that much better. So it honestly is scary because
it's way better with her on the court. Her team is way better with her on the court.
I was so happy for Aliyah when Caitlin went to Indiana because I knew you were going to reap a lot of those passes down the court, and she was.
I think what she's doing.
And I'm going to stop it right there, guys. Leah Boston injury. Hopefully we get some more clarity on that. Get down in the comment section right now. Let me know y'all thoughts about this. Keep them bills on. I will be back with more videos. Until next time, man. Shake the.
Here's what makes this significant beyond just one injury. Unrivaled positioned itself as the premier off-season league for WNBA players. They promised better facilities, better compensation, and better player care than overseas options. They sold themselves as the future of women's basketball, a place where stars could develop their game, make good money, and stay in the United States instead of flying to Europe or Asia during the off-season. But if you can't provide basic transparency about player health, that entire value proposition falls apart. Why would Breanna Stewart or Sabrina Ionescu or any other star risk their WNBA career playing in a league that won't even tell people what injuries their players are dealing with? The whole point of staying stateside was supposed to be better infrastructure and more professional operations. This situation suggests that maybe Unrivaled isn't as buttoned up as they claim to be. And let's talk about the business implications. Unrivaled has been courting sponsors and investors by highlighting their roster of elite talent. Aliyah Boston is one of those marquee names. She's a former #1 overall pick. She's an all-star. She's got a massive following. When something happens to a player of that caliber, and your response is radio silence, investors start asking questions about organizational competence. Think about it from a sponsor's perspective. You're paying significant money to associate your brand with this league. One of the league's biggest stars gets injured, and instead of getting professional communications about the situation, you're reading speculation on Twitter like everyone else. That's not how partnerships are supposed to work. That's not how professional organizations handle crisis communications. The comparison to how the WNBA handles these situations is stark. When Breanna Stewart tore her Achilles in 2019, we knew within hours what the injury was, what the treatment plan looked like, and what the expected recovery timeline would be. When Brittany Griner had her situation in Russia, the league provided regular updates. Professional organizations communicate. Amateur operations hide behind no comment. And here's the thing about beat reporters like Chloe Peterson, they're not trying to create problems. They're trying to do their jobs. When a journalist with Peterson's track record and connections can't get basic information about an injury, that tells you the communications breakdown is severe. She's covered this league extensively. She has relationships with teams and players. If she can't get answers, nobody can. Watch that initial reaction again in the opening clip. That's genuine concern mixed with frustration. That's someone who knows this story should be straightforward, but is being made unnecessarily complicated by organizational dysfunction. And that frustration is being echoed by fans, by other media members, and probably by players who are watching this situation and wondering if they want to participate in future Unrivaled seasons. Now compare that to how Dawn Staley and other coaches talk about player care in those interview clips. They emphasize transparency, they emphasize communication, they emphasize the responsibility that organizations have to their athletes. The contrast between that professional standard and what Unrivaled is demonstrating right now couldn't be more obvious. What makes this particularly awkward for Unrivaled is that they're trying to establish themselves as a permanent fixture in women's basketball. They want to be taken seriously as a professional league. They want WNBA players to choose them over overseas options every offseason. But you can't build that kind of credibility when your response to adversity is to shut down communications and hope the story goes away. This dynamic is going to continue affecting Unrivaled's reputation long after we finally learn what actually happened to Aliyah Boston's knee. Because even when they eventually release information, and they'll have to eventually lost, the damage is done. The story is no longer just about the injury, it's about how the league handled the situation. It's about whether Unrivaled has the organizational maturity to operate at the level they claim to be at. So the question becomes, was the communications blackout worth it? Did Unrivaled gain anything by refusing to provide basic injury information? Or did they just create a controversy that's going to follow them into their next season and make star players think twice about participating? Because from where I'm sitting, this looks like an unforced error that's going to have consequences far beyond one injured player. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Unrivaled owes fans and media more transparency about player injuries? Or is this just how off-season leagues operate, and we need to adjust our expectations? And if you were a WNBA star, would this situation make you reconsider playing in Unrivaled next year? Let me know what you think. Hit that like button if you want to see more WNBA coverage, and subscribe because we're going to follow this story as more information comes out. I'll see you in the next one.